Well, not yet. It'll be at 6 o'clock. Yeah, it's like Pavlov's dog. We got you all trained, don't we? All right. 6 o'clock will be the Pledge of Allegiance to the rest of it. This is just a work session on the budget. Now everybody will leave for that, right? All right. All right. We're turning over a balanced budget to council. Anything you want to change means it comes out of contingency. Just a reminder for that. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. McCarroll.
Okay. We'll probably might as well just start right away with the subsidies, you think, and then just go down.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Where are we at with contingency before we take off here?
Sure, I'll pull that back up here for you.
We have a little bit extra contingency this year from what we had previous years.
Right.
Assuming you're going to add some stuff back, we're going to be down a little farther. So.
Currently at 938, 194. Sorry, I just moved it back. Do you want me to pull it over again?
Oh, that's fine.
I'm going to be on here anyway, so that's our current amount right now.
Well, if we're going straight to subsidies, is that what you want to do? Is that what you're
Write down the
thinking?
list, or being we got people here, we might as well. Okay.
Why is this?
Everybody got them?
I think just so everybody knows, I do have this one tracking list that I usually use just for keeping track of everything council's considering or acting on, and then I'll have that for you at the end of the meeting before the next hearing that you have scheduled.
Okay. Well, we can start right at the top with Dakota Counseling. Request looks like 62,000. Proposed was 14,300. Is there anybody that wants to talk or? Okay.
Hi. The request that we put in for 62,000 was what we were receiving just a few years ago. We have been receiving that amount I've been with the center for 26 years, and that's the amount that we were receiving. If you look at what the population of Mitchell was like 26 years ago compared to today, we needed 62,000 then. Today, our population has increased. Our crisis has not gone down. It's triplified. The work that we do after hours, weekends, last year our nurses helped with over or just short of $1 million of indigent medications for our clients. So I would open the floor to questions. I feel like I come up every year and give you the same, wine and song and dance, and we're struggling. Not just we were struggling before, and COVID has made it difficult for us, as it has everyone. I'm not saying we're special in that, but the equipment to provide services, the emergency services, like I said, the after hours, the weekends, is so tapping on our staff, as it is the police department and everybody else's emergency departments. But
Michelle, I know that one of the things that we've discussed in the past is that you serve a very broad area of, much larger region than just Mitchell itself. Are you receiving funding from the other communities around us that you
Yes.
are they, is it proportionate to what you're receiving from Mitchell?
The other counties are much smaller. The only county that does not provide a contribution is Brule County, but they contract with services out of the chamber. Even though we have a full-time office there, they're contracting with a private practitioner to take care of their emergency services.
How much of an increase did you ask Aurora County, Davidson County, Hanson County, Hutchinson County? What were your increases to them?
We don't put a formal proposal into those counties.
Okay.
Davidson County, we did put a proposal in, I'm sorry, and that was flatlined.
So you asked for 13,000 last year from them?
Yes. And that's at 30 cents per capita, maybe?
I guess to me, the anomaly in that list is we're the only city.
But, okay, so.
What about cities in Aurora County?
Okay. We're not
Cities
requesting
in
anything.
Hutchinson County, cities in Hanson County. I mean, it's a county statutory requirement, and it's not a city statutory requirement. That's the problem I have with it.
Okay. I know that there are other like cities that are contributing to their drug and alcohol and their mental health facilities. Last year, when we pulled those centers, I believe it was Yankton, Watertown, Pierre.
I mean,
You know, the emergencies.
The work you do is phenomenal, and we can't get along without it, but the proportion that comes from the city taxpayer in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 county area, it's just tough for me to mentally make it work.
And I can sure reach out to those, you know, the town of Plankington, but the emergencies that I have come out of Plankington are one compared to probably a 50, 75. You know, also the need in Mitchell is not proportionate than what I am covering in those smaller areas.
That was one of my questions. Can you give us a breakdown of your clientele and where they're coming from?
I can, not off the top of my head, but I could sure email that information to you guys even as early as tomorrow.
Mike Coster, do you send them a lot of, call it business, do you send them business clients?
We do. Our process, we're relying on Davidson County utilizing their iPads and services for the initial consultation. The QMHP, the Qualified Mental Health Evaluations, where Dakota Counseling is for sure doing those, would be that next step. But yeah, we are seeing an increase in services needed.
Do you have a record of how much you use them per month or per weekly or anything for that?
Again, off the top of my head, I can't provide that, but I could get that to council.
That'd be fine, thank you.
And again, for the whole catchment area, I have that data. I have to invoice the state every month, and I can give you a breakdown of like what the last 12 months have looked like for how many hours we're providing those services as well, if that would be helpful.
I just wanted to show to council, she said that they'd been receiving $62,000. That was prior to 2016. Since then, council has decreased that subsidy level over the last couple of years as well.
Any other questions, Mrs. Carpenter?
Should we wait for the info? Because this is just the first meeting there.
Yeah, this is just a hearing.
We're not making any decisions tonight.
Okay.
Actions will be taken in the first meeting in November.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next would be LifeQuest. They, looks like we're allowing them $9,000. Anybody on the audience want to have any questions about LifeQuest or? Don't?
Right.
The request items that you are allowing.
Yeah.
Can we, and maybe Stephanie, you said, can we go back on Dakota Counseling Institute? What was the reason that you guys recommended 14.3 instead of 26?
Well, one of the big things is.
Or instead of 62, I guess.
The only person giving more to them than us is United Way. And none of the counties that they serve were even close, or maybe half of what we give.
Right, I was just
What
think,
was, what would you?
wondering the thinking,
called out?
same, yeah.
Yes, we were thinking along the same line.
Okay.
Mr. McCarthy, that was what the committee discussed.
Okay, thank you.
And all of them, they did review as well the profit, the P&L of each entity as well as the existing fund balances as well.
Yes.
So with LifeQuest, we want to just go with the $9,000?
It is at $9,000 now.
Yeah. Is that good with everybody? Okay. Mitchell Area Safe House. Looks like they requested 15 and we went 4,500.
The 2021 approved level was 3,375. If you wanted to look at the previous levels, they're also listed. They've been
4,500.
Yeah, 4,500 the last couple of years, 3 years prior to last year, where everyone received a decrease.
We good with that?
Is anyone here? Is anyone here from the Safe House?
And I remember reading through, but was there a specific reason that it went up that high?
I can pull up their application again, if you'd like.
They are trying to build a new
Perused it.
facility.
Yeah, they got the
assuming
grant,
that may
but-
have they did get a grant, and they
Yep.
are looking for matching funds, which I believe they're looking at another grant. That's pass-through grant from the city.
Right.
We handle
Yep.
it for them, but we
Yep,
don't.
that was
give
good
them
news.
funds, so. Yep.
I was just curious if there was, and I looked through there, I didn't really see,
Any reason why?
not,
I don't think it was specifically spelled out as to the increase. It's been a while since I've looked.
It does say ongoing, but will be used for operating costs
Right.
starting the first of the month once funds are received.
okay.
So, I don't think it pointed to a specific project or.
So they've had 45 the last 3 or 4 years, so just stay at 45. Everybody good with that?
That's what we've given them the last few years.
Yep.
Yeah, 45.
Lever?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
We'll go to CASA. They requested 4,000 and we came back with 3,000 because they've had 3,000 for the last couple of years.
We were down.
Last year there was 2,250.
Which we gave a haircut to everybody.
Yeah, last year we gave everybody a little bit of a,
I think we got fairly tight everywhere last year because obviously the world that we lived in, we didn't know what possibly could be coming out and going on. So I think we were being very proactive in that way, so.
3,000?
Sure. Yeah.
So what is that percentage up? Is that from 2250 to 3, is that what, 30%?
Third. Yeah.
Close.
Keep in mind, in 2021, we had reduced some of them, not knowing what our budgeting would be like originally,
Right.
so.
It's just a totally different process when you're doing it at this point of the year because we know what
Yeah,
our
because we
revenue
know all
looks like for.
all the stuff we haven't got finished and we know all that stuff now, so.
Then the municipal band requested $12,540. And we came back with 10, which we've been doing, it looks like, for a long, long, long time.
Yep. And just a reminder
And
that
they
the
didn't
reason.
operate last year?
Yeah, they didn't have,
They did, but they had received funding the year prior and they didn't have any shows during COVID that would have been 2020. So they used the funds we gave them in 2020 for 2021. So historically, they've always gotten $10,000. They did ask for additional funds this year as a purchase of,
They still want a sound system or something, don't
Yep.
they?
I believe so.
Danielle, do you want to come up and tell us what?
Hi, I'm Danielle DeCrife. As you guys all may know, Joe Peckus has since retired. He's been hanging on for a while, and he's been so gracious to let us borrow a lot of his equipment. And I have Molly Manchester with me. She's got all the numbers. I'm the president, she's my treasurer. So this was our first subsidy application, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate the money that you guys do give us and continue to support music in the community. We are looking for a sound system. We have an analog sound system. I think it was in its prime in the 70s. If you come out to it,
Kind of when Joe Peckus was in his prime.
Whoa, whoa.
like 8 people in this council that were in their prime. in the
Then when you come out to the park, you can enjoy music how you used to. We've noticed in the trailer, hot and cold, you guys do a great job letting us store our equipment. But, it's time, and it gets beat up, and it gets knocked around, so we're looking at some analog systems that some of the schools are going to be looking at getting rid of, that they're not utilizing anymore. So we're not buying a new one by any means. That gets up to about $8,500, but we're looking and shopping around, and we obviously can do fundraising and things like that, but it wouldn't ever be on our subsidy application again for like the next 10 years.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. This is a one-time request for additional funds to help purchase that
Yes.
equipment, and then next year you would go back to the 10?
Yes, yep.
I'll make that motion that we give
We
them
haven't
the
done
other.
motions yet. Do you guys want that?
Okay, well, let's-
So,
I'd like to
Susan,
see us-
that you'd put it to, what, 12,000 or 12,540? And could we, and there's no motions, but could we talk that, hey, go out and look for it, and if you get it, we could do because if you don't get it, I don't want to give the money, but if you do get it, we could do the subsidy and
So what you
whenever
could
it
do
is.
when you get to approvals is you could approve the 10,000 with the 2540
40.
contingent on purchase of a sound system.
Sure.
The one thing
That's
that I'm
what I
going to
wanted.
say is this time though, we're going to make sure it's in the Mitchell band because we've found that in the past, years ago, what was it, 30 years ago when they bought a trailer or whatever?
It was.
It's actually their trailer, but it's like licensed under the city, and so we have to clean some of that stuff up too. So this
Okay.
would be the property of the band, not the city, so.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we're working on cleaning all that stuff up too on our end, because we thought it was weird that you guys mailed us tags for the trailer we have, so.
You took them.
Which thank
So-
you very much for funding the licensing on our trailer, but.
Yeah, so I think that'd be a good way to do that, so then you can look for that, and then in 2022, if you have it, we can make that go through and give you a little more PR at the time that it happens.
For sure. That'd be perfect. And we also did want to say, too, before we left, since we are kind of under new leadership, we are the Mitchell Municipal Band. We have Mitchell in our title and city in our name. So if you guys have the Star Spangled Banner you need played for something, you have a ribbon cutting, you want to have a big hoopty for, we're doing something over at the Veterans Park, give us a holler. You guys are funding us, and we're here to be used at your disposal. Right now, we play at the Corn Palace for Christmas, but there's a lot of other cool things that we could provide. We also provide music, not this last year, Memorial Day at the cemetery. So if you guys have something in mind, let us know. We'd love to get the horns out and support the city.
Do you play for the First Fridays?
We have not played for the First Fridays. That is something I believe Mr. Greenway has asked us about for this next calendar season, but we'd love to do something like that.
Yep, we would.
Okay, then we'll do that. So we'll approve the 10th, or we'll do the 10,000, and if they get their equipment, we'll do that.
Yep, I put a note on there for, as your discussion was, 10,000 for the subsidy, 2540 towards sound system if purchased in 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Thank
right?
you.
Thank
you
you very
guys.
much.
That you guys will
Good.
get to keep.
I'm glad yeah. I was hoping you had your sheet, and you
I
can.
do, but
You can kind of write down what we're,
Yep.
since it's not formal motions, you can write down kind of what we're talking about.
Next, we'll go to the Exchange Club fireworks display. We've given them 10,000, they requested 10, we've given them 10 for a long time, except.
Do they have them ordered already? Might
I
not
don't know if
might
it's got
not
them
get them by
ordered,
next
but I know the
year.
cost has gone up.
Might need 20, but
And historically, your funding has been at $10,000 since 2015, and then last year it was reduced when everything else was reduced.
keep it at 10. Okay. We'll move on to the next one. Mitchell Prehistoric Indian Village. Requested 17. They didn't do all the paperwork, so we said 0, but we're open for discussion.
They're here.
As Cindy's walking up here and going to make a few comments, I think it's something that we should support. I know the application wasn't exactly the way it was supposed to be, but I know there was an attempt at least. And going forward, I bet she'll nail it. But at least, I think that I would be in favor of last year's number at least putting into the budget, and then we'll let Cindy make her comments of 11,250.
Well, I got to say, first of all, thanks, Jeff, and thank all of you. We do appreciate the support you've given us in the past years, and I think that we're quite worthy of future support. This year has been a pretty phenomenal year, especially I think any year would have been phenomenal after last year. But this year, we're breaking records. October, we're not even halfway through October, and already it's the second best October we've had since I started 11 years ago. The funding that we get from the city has always gone to our marketing, and I think you're not surprised. The vast majority of people who are coming to us right now are coming to us through digital marketing. And we've done digital marketing for 2 years now, and we've seen the difference. We didn't do any last year, but we did do it in 2019, and we did it again this year, and the results are there. The people are coming to us. We ask everybody who comes in the door, how did they find us? And this year, it has been internet, internet, internet. That is by far the biggest way people are finding us. But for the 2 times that we've done this digital marketing, we've done it from June to August. And we see that we need to expand digital marketing. And I did email all of you our budget, our marketing budget. And if anybody needs a copy, I'll have one right here. This year, we have spent $16,680 on marketing by upping the digital marketing to the full April through October timeline. That'll bring our budget up to $20,599 for marketing. We're seeing just tremendous good come of it. This year we added, 7 events. We did not have our field school again this year. The field school will return next year. Archaeology days will return next year. But we had all these other events, and 2 of them were unique to us. The Native American Lore and Culture Days was a huge event for us this summer. Brought in people from all over, but we talked about in the past our paleo games, and we were able to hold our paleo games this year. And I got to tell you, it was huge. We were so thrilled with the paleo games and the people that it brought in. From what I understand, we filled half the rooms at the Days Inn just for paleo games attendees. We had people come from all over the United States, Montana, we heard Missouri, Indiana, Iowa, and they came just for the games. And in case anybody was wondering, a young lady from Montana was the grand prize winner. That woman owned the atlatl. She was just amazing. But the Paleo Games was hugely successful. It brought a lot of people into town. And what we're learning as we ask people how they found out about us, they're not going to the Corn Palace first, a lot of folks. A lot of folks are coming to Mitchell solely to see the Indian Village. We are so unique. Nobody else has a prehistoric Indian Village. Nobody else has a Corn Palace. So Mitchell has 2 superlatives here. We really appreciate what you're doing. We want you to know what we're doing. We're doing so much. We're doing for the Native American community. We're doing a lot of special programs. We have outreach programs now. And the school tours have really risen. We get a grant every year now from one foundation that makes it possible for us to have all school tours for free. And that has made a huge difference. I just booked a school today. They're bringing 50 kids in next week. It's October. We don't have school tours in October. It's not our first school tour in October. We had the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, bring students in Saturday. They're bringing students in again next month, and then they've already booked for next year. They've got two groups coming in the springtime. Wow, you know. We're pretty proud of all of that. So I know there wasn't an error in transmission of our application. The financials were in that transmission. Why they got lost, I'll never know. I can blame it on a lot of things, but it won't do me any good. It happened. I just feel really bad that, it was considered to be denied. Any subsidy was considered to be denied to us. We work really hard for the city, and we're looking really good. Any questions?
Why did you go up from 11,250 to 17?
Well, I always ask for 17, Dan.
You just asked for
I always do. I probably never will get 17, but you'll give me something good. We got, in 2019, we got 15 from you. Yeah, so, but I'm always going to ask for more,
We've been having a discussion that you never hurts to swing for the fence, so I think those were Marty's words.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm looking at our subsidy applications, and basically the requested amounts, when I look at this, it looks to me like everybody at least got an increase with the exception of the Indian Village. And so not only do I think that we need to at least give them an increase, and I'd like to give them 17,000, but that may not be realistic, but I would like to see us give them 13,000. Like I said, everybody else has received in the subsidies, they've been recommended to at least have an increase over last year. And if we don't increase from the 11,250, then they're just getting the same. They'd be the only subsidy application that we don't give at least a small increase. We're talking about an additional $1,750, which in the world of digital marketing makes a difference. So I would like to see us go to 13,000 over for the prehistoric Indian Village. Increase that from the 11,250.
Hey, Stephanie, can you show the 2020 again?
Sure. You want to see the full list, maybe?
Yeah. Right there, yeah, 20.
So in 2012, there were 4,000. 14 was 15, and then went up to 17 and 16, and then went back down. And it's been going down again ever since 18.
17 was,
So-
did you do something with new computers?
We did, in 17, it wasn't computers, it was software. We got the Foundation Search software, and, we use it all the time.
So looking at the request, obviously, we all know what happened in 2021, and then in 2020, we have our budget amounts that we gave everybody. So far, everybody before this, we've been sort of reapproving our 2020 amount. I'm just curious, Susan, why you went for 13 when 15 was in 2020?
Because I was afraid that you guys, did I say 13? I meant 15. What I meant was 15. Oh, did I misspeak? I think I meant 15,000. That's what I would like to see us do. Thanks, Marty. Thank you for clarifying what I really intended to say.
Susan, I would go with 13 too then.
What's that?
I would go with 13,000.
Or 15, no. Okay.
Let's keep moving out there.
Yeah.
See where our final numbers.
Put a 13 then, or?
Put 13 in and we can talk.
Oh, I don't know why that one.
We got to have a number, so.
And we're going to meet again November 1st, I believe.
Well,
Or
no,
potentially-
this would be your first hearing. We hope to have as much finalized as possible so that Michelle and I can have your budget document ready for you.
Okay, next we'll go to the Mitchell
Thank you.
Area Development. They requested 167, we allowed 167, they had 167 in 2020. Are they here to talk? Does anybody want to talk? Just keep it the same? Okay. We'll move on to Mitchell Main Street and beyond.
Okay, again, if you look at the economic development, you've got Mitchell Area Development getting the same amount as last year, the requested amount, 167,000. Regional Economic Development is 30,000. I'm not sure why we're saying that Mitchell Main Street should take a cut. I would like to see us keep them at the 35,000. I think that their track record and the things that they've been doing this year under the leadership of Ashley is remarkable, nothing short of remarkable. So I would like to see us keep that at the 35,000.
I have a question. So all of this is back to, where did I write that down? The contingency number. Have we figured out what to do with the 42,000 some odd dollars in the Mitchell Main Street item? Can any of that be used for
It
this?
would really not make a difference because that was a general fund loan setup, so it's going to be general
So
fund
it's
dollars
general
either
fund
way.
dollars sitting
Yeah.
there anyway?
Yep.
Because, and it's been sitting there for longer than that.
I think 2010.
Yeah.
So I guess conceptually from fine, put them at 35,000 and take it from there, and then you'll have to do the accounting for what that does for
You can do all
the
that.
contingency.
Yeah.
And do we just leave it and then spend it down until it's zero, or are you going to
Okay, so-
move it all over and call it gone, or how do you do the
So
accounting wise?
I think because it was originally a general fund loan, it needs to go back to general fund cash. Now, if council wants to designate that for future Mitchell Main Street funding, and then we take it out of reserves each time to fund them, I mean, that's your prerogative.
That might be
It's a lot of,
too complicated if you just move it, but
Regardless, we'll need a council action to move it to
Yeah.
another fund. So we'll have to do like a
Okay.
supplemental appropriation back to, like a transfer out of that fund to the general fund.
okay.
So then that money will be sitting in the general fund.
Okay, if we could have
And
that,
then
then I don't
you can do
have
whatever
a
you
problem
want with it.
35,000 there.
Okay.
so, just to clarify and make sure I'm understanding,
Make it
you're
work
wanting
accounting-wise.
this to go back up to 35,000, but not to reduce contingency at all?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Using that 42 to general.
And then whatever's left after that, we would transfer,
Yep,
move back.
gotcha.
Good.
We're trying to limit your discussion, man.
I think you should anyways.
Try to come up and speak, Ashley?
Tell us about Oktoberfest.
Okay. Like,
Yeah, I thought it
so
was fun.
I wasn't there in person for the whole event, so Dan might have a little more about the Oktoberfest overall. But it was great, well attended. We already have a date pick for next year if everything goes as planned and we get the permit and everything. But it was excellent. So we're enjoying all these new events that we're bringing to the town. Seems like the community is loving it. I know I enjoy it. I've lived, like I said, Mitchell my whole life. So I appreciate you guys supporting us and giving us that full funding. So. Yes, exactly. Yep, I saw the videos. I was there setting up, whatever, and I'm like, afternoon.
I saw you there, Marty.
Yep. I was like, and we had wiener dog racers coming like up until the 1 o'clock time. And we're like, well, we were doing, all the logistics behind the scenes with shot records and all of that. So I'm like, we can't right now, but we probably would have had 20 dogs if we would have let people. So yeah, it was great. I don't know if Dan has anything else, but thank you.
She covered a lot of my summary on Oktoberfest, but I was actually there for working it. She had another obligation. So the quick summary here was, it was October 9th, south end of Main Street, north of the depot. Wiener dog races and the Oktoberfest games. Events ran from 11 till almost 4 o'clock. We had 2 food trucks and the depot and Second Lawler. We estimate about 1,500 people there based on our sales of cups and sort of anecdotal from the food trucks and those things. We sold cups for the consumption of the alcohol outside. Events were sponsored by the Porter Distributing, the Depot, Coburn's, Break Time Portable, Meadema, Muth, and Make It Mine. Porter Distributing had a limited edition Oktoberfest beer, which was a nice attraction, and they actually ran out of beer, so they hauled the beer out of the depot, and then they ran out of beer there, so then they went back to Porter's and hauled more beer. So, yeah, that's a lot of beer. We sold T-shirts and hoodies as an additional fundraiser. Needless to say, we're very pleased with this event. We are bringing it back to Mitchell October 8th. Wiener Dog races will be expanded. We had such a big crowd that actually we're going to double the size of the Wiener Dog race track because there was so much crowd, people couldn't actually see it, which is an amazing thing to have happen. I think also this was brought up at the Workforce Summit at the Corn Palace the other day. Employers are all talking about things to keep people in town, right? How do we keep people wanting to live here? This shows this event was needed in town, that the crowd appreciated it because of the event size.
So and I know at the pre-Sturgis party, we had the big screen. Did the city end up buying the big screen to project? Because you could put the Wiener Dog races up on the big screen.
That would be amazing if you had one. Yeah, I thought the rodeo committee brings something in every year, but I didn't know where it came from. Yeah.
Oh.
So that is
okay.
what we discussed, was doing that for next year, just because the crowd was so
Yeah.
compact that it would allow you to kind of still observe, but not be front and center if you didn't want to be that close.
Mr. Greenway, did you buy a screen?
No, but the Corn Palace would request $50,000 for one.
Too late, budget's done.
Next year.
So that's further down on the list, Doug.
In regards to your budget discussion, we appreciate all the support. I just wanted to say, if, for example, if you were at the Mitchell Tech graduation this year, when you left the graduation, you walked out of that graduation event to rock bands, to food trucks, to a car show, to a booming downtown where you could talk to your neighbors and people around you and celebrate those things. Mitchell Main Street pulls that together, and that's to Ashley's credit, but it's also to the credit of the city for the funding and the support of the Corn Palace because they make those events work with us. So we appreciate it.
And I'm just going to add, one of the things that I have heard a lot of comments from businesses at the south end of Main Street, I am so grateful that you took this down to that end. I think that you're really listening to the people and answering their calls. So I tip my hat to you on that, too.
Good, thank you.
We went one step further and invited the other bars to participate that weren't actually in our event to sort of piggyback on our event in case they wanted to, that they could try to draw the crowd to them if they wanted after ours was done or during ours. So they had the right to do that if they wanted to, but we invited them, so.
Any comments from them afterwards?
As far as the other bars?
The other bars to the north.
I don't know if, I was thinking maybe Big Dummy just mentioned that he maybe walked down, but I don't know exactly. I didn't get any.
We haven't a direct follow-up with them since the event, but there was certainly no complaints and there was interest in it from the standpoint of that they could do stuff to piggyback on the event, so.
Thank you. Let's go on to the regional economic development. They requested 30. We allowed 30. They've had 30 for, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 years, it looks like. So just keep them at 30. Next would be CVB. They requested 250. We allowed 250. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, and then the last will be,
That's it?
that's it.
For subsidies.
That's it.
I was wondering, can I address just one more minute? Sure. Susan, maybe I just didn't understand your comment on the subsidies. We're all receiving at least what they got last year or a small addition. We were still significantly cut. Dakota Counseling at the very top.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yep.
Okay, so that's all I just wanted to point out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good point. I missed that. Would you consider taking Dakota Mental Health and putting it back at last year's 26,250?
Before I do that, I'd like to get some information from our chief and
Yeah.
whatever else information that Michelle was going to give the council.
That's good.
Okay, we'll move on then.
Kevin, can I give one comment too that we kind of that was brought to our attention
What if I
afterwards?
tell you no?
Huh? Then I
You
won't.
can.
Okay. One thing that was brought to our attention was when we added the other full-time golf position in the golf course, We still have the golf supervisor, Jason Ganeri, overseeing a portion of the cemetery work. So we need to attribute some of that expense back to general fund. Nate visited with Jason today. They were saying 6733, just for ease in our accounting software, we'll probably do 70%, 30% or something like that instead of an odd number. It's easier when it's an even number. It's not going to impact general fund. It would just reduce the amount that we're going to transfer into golf for the subsidy. So it's not going to have an impact on what you're doing. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of it because it would be different from what we presented at the first meeting. Thank you.
Anybody got questions on the, or comments on what Bob and Stephanie went through to make a balanced budget for us? What is there?
Good job.
I think, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I've got some points I want to bring up if that's,
Yeah,
if
go
that's
ahead.
where we're at. Okay. I would like to propose an addition at the library, and it's a little bit, I don't know, I kind of have a little bit of an ethics issue, and I've asked Jeff to help with that. Since I sit on the library board of trustees, and that's a voting member, I'm a voting member, and part of that, I'm a little hesitant to say make a bunch of changes for the library and lead that discussion, so I've asked Jeff to look at that, but I would like to propose we had $34,000 in part-time salary there, and it got moved back to 20, and I'd like to propose we bring 14,000 forward to that, and it's related to programming and outreach stuff that we've done, and Jeff can give a little bit of background, and I have Emma here from somebody on the trustees that's not part of the city council that can expound on part of that. So I have that request, and I'd like to propose that and go from there.
And Steve and I have been visiting the last couple of weeks when we got this information, and given the fact that I think everybody's aware of all the new programs and what's been happening at the library, especially the last 12 months, and as COVID has kind of loosened up, we've brought a lot of youth programs type. We even have it outside in the Corn Palace Plaza that we've hosted some events, and so I guess that's where, as I was visiting with Steve, I think it's obviously we're not making any decisions, but at least understand maybe what the money would be used for if we did take them back up to the original amount that we had last year. And I don't know, Emma, you could probably.
It would have been 2019 budget level.
It was 19, okay.
Yep. Yeah, 2019, they had 41,756 that was spent. Last year, that budget amount was 19,905. And then this year, 2020 was 19,905 was the actual. 2020 budget was 20,000. And then the request for next year was 20,000. So that reduction.
So this was something that came up after it was actually discussed, or when they put the department budget together. So I don't know, Emma, if you want to come up and maybe just explain, maybe.
Let me ask you a question. You have a foundation fund, right?
We have a trustee
fund.
fund,
So
yep.
what does that go for? Would
That,
that be used to hire part-time people?
from our standpoint, we typically have not spent that on salaries.
What does it get spent on?
Other programming and supplies and other
So
items.
programming could be part-time people to do the stuff at Corn Palace.
Could be.
All right.
How much is in there?
We've got about $100,000.
Okay.
But, you know, from a legal standpoint, the trustee money is trustee money, and the city still has to provide a library, and the city cannot close the library without a vote of the public. So.
We can't do hardly anything with the library.
Correct.
I know.
So there are, and that's, again, why I wanted to pull myself awake, since I'm a voting member of the trustee.
Go ahead.
Okay.
excuse me, so I'm Emma DeVos. I'm on the Library Board of Trustees. The reason we need these part-time staff is because we have a really good problem caused by the pandemic, in that our services are actually reaching a lot more people now than they were before. So if you look back in 2019, we had about an involvement of about 6,600 people coming to the library and getting services because they were in person. And obviously in 2020, we realized that we couldn't just do in person, we had to do things virtually as well. So that took a whole lot of extra work, but luckily, because the library was closed, the full-time staff were able to take time away from dealing with people on a day-to-day basis and focus on recording programs and doing more things online. So in 2020, we had 23,600 interactions in our programs. It's obviously a huge jump. And so far this year, we're at about 19,000. Just in our children's story time, we have about 16,000 interactions with our programs, and that's in person and virtually. So what we've realized, excuse me, is that we can't just do it in person, we have to do it virtually as well. The problem is, now that the library is open, the full-time staff have to help cover the circulation desk because we don't have all the part-time staff we need. But the full-time staff then don't have enough time to design the programming, plan the programming, and make sure it's available to people on a wider basis. So we need those part-time hours. What we're proposing is to get those hours up to 58 hours per week, and we're actually open 63 hours per week. So we need those part-time people to help on the circulation desk so the full-time staff can work on the programming. And through that programming, we have several things that are hitting on the Forward 2040 stuff too. We have a lot of bilingual activities now. In fact, in June, we had, I think it was 5 activities that had about 768 different interactions with those. So there's a real interest in those, not just serving the community of people who are Hispanic here, but also people who are English speaking and want to learn how to speak Spanish so that they can interact and help those people adapt and grow and be more part of this community. So that's part of it, a lot of children's programming. We also hit on some workforce areas because obviously we have computers that people come in and use. We do tech classes. We have a lot of those things are very popular too. So that is actually helping people get back into the workforce because they're able to come in and do their resumes on the computers and so on. We actually also expanded our Wi-Fi to outside the library, so you can get Wi-Fi if you're sitting in a car in the car park, and that's really nice for people who can't afford to have Wi-Fi at home. So we're serving a lot more people now as a result of the pandemic, and the reality is we're not ever going to go back to the point where all we can do is do things in person. So we need those part-time hours, cover that circulation desk, so that the full-time staff can focus on the programming. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't think I heard, what was the dollar amount, Steve?
So it'd go from 20 to 34, so 14,000.
So Stephanie, a question. Obviously, she used the word COVID quite a bit in that presentation. Could this possibly be, no, you're already shaking your head before I ask the question.
It's not qualified?
It does not qualify.
Even with public safety officials, you have to show that the majority of their time is due to responding to the public health emergency. I don't know if they would consider providing library service as a public health emergency. You know, they're saying maybe EMS staff and police staff, but
Jeff, I guess the other COVID part, and we've
they've got a ton of grants.
we applied for a
last 2
grant
years,
and
so.
got, we get 20,000, Kevin? Yeah, got 20,000 in last year's application. We have another grant application in from the humanities side through the state, and we're waiting to hear on that, but potentially like upgrade technology-wise in the $50,000 range, but that's what we're, you know, even if we get a tenth of that, it's money that we're going to pump back into the technology part of the library from the COVID side, but.
I'll put it this way too, Jeff. I'm a little concerned even trying to submit police officers' wages to be considered responding to the public health emergency just for the documentation that you have to do. So I just don't, EMS would probably be an easy one to sell, but I think beyond that, I would just be hesitant for us to get that qualified.
And I guess I would, to echo Emma's comments, that one of the, to me, amazing ones, we did the outreach at the Corn Palace Plaza and had the animals and stuff from the zoo, and we had like 350 kids and parents and everybody in the plaza with animals on one day, and prior to COVID, we might have tried to do maybe something a little bit at the library, but with Doug Greenway's encouragement and other stuff of getting people to use the plaza during the daytime, that just exploded on us. We had another one where we did a two-part, one in the afternoon and one at night, and by the time it got to be 6 o'clock, it was one of those 102-degree days, and we didn't have the animals out there. But it was just amazing, and we had several tourists, I think, that also took part and stayed and kind of wondered what was going on, and so that impacted that too. So to be able to go out and do those outreach things, we need a little more planning time, I think.
I see we have the library director here, and does he want to get up and say anything about it?
Kevin, do you want to?
Sure. I guess I would echo what has been said, but additionally, I would like to, pay the higher priced employees to do the higher level, programming work, and then we can have the part-time people doing the circulation desk, checking in, checking out books, and reshelving books, and then again freeing up the time of our higher paid people to attract more people to the library and give them the services that they're looking for.
I think one thing that's important too, Kevin, I think it was the end of last year that you installed the door counters too. So they've been looking at what the highest utilization times are at the library and been focusing staffing around that too. And you'll have that data for the future too, which has been helpful.
Yeah. I mean, we have less, well, we just have about a year now, and it'll be, yeah. So, but, it is my goal, I've been here for a little more than a year, and my goal to improve and increase library services to the community.
Sounds like you're doing a great job at that. That's awesome. Well, I would definitely be supportive of that.
Okay.
13,000.
Yes, additionally. Yep. We got 10 minutes, right?
Anything else? Anybody else have any other topics they want to?
I've got another one.
Keep going.
Okay. On the golf course, I would like to move that we fully fund that phase one. And if I remember Stephanie's numbers, and we're at approximately 107,000 of 134, and I think it would be an addition of $28,040. And I've talked with the golf course staff, but I'd really like to just leave that up to the golf board as to exactly how that's spent, but I know you might want to come up and talk about either tree removal or forward tees or.
So just to revisit this for the public watching too, so the 11,000 for the packing box and cooling fan was included, and then only 96 of the 125 for the rest of phase one. So the difference is 29,000.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And the reason it was lower is we had figured that some of that work could be done by our own staff.
Yep. And
So that's why it wasn't the full amount that we had originally budgeted.
let it go for discussion.
Jason from the Golf and Cemetery. We're hoping majority of the money was banked for tree removal on diseased trees, dying trees, trees affecting, heaving up cart paths, affecting turf conditions, all that kind of stuff. The remainder, however much we're able to do, then I'll free up more money to do tee boxes. The forward tees, we would probably try to do ourselves. This last week, I put out flags where those forward tees would go, just to get some feeling for people, and everybody that played them liked them. I heard comments that it just really changed the golf course. So,
Mayor, Council, Nathan Powell, Parks and Rec Director. I also want to add, we want to work on the trees around that pond area as well.
And that was going to be my next comment. So when you say phase,
11, the pond on 11, you mean?
right here.
Okay.
So when you were talking about phase one, according to the presentation that council saw, it would have been these two items combined, the 11,000 and the 125. Nate added this additional tree removal around the pond, and it was listed before as part of phase one, but that was not in the presentation that council received from the company that came in and did the presentation. Right, so that would be an additional 12,000 if you wanted to do above what was presented to council about the phase one master plan, in addition to the 29.
So Mayor, if I heard you right, the 125 down to 96, we're not going to back off of phase one. It's still going to be completed. It's just that part of it's going to be able to be done in-house.
Should be, yes.
Okay. And then what you're talking about, Stephanie, is the 12,000.
Right here, down below is removed as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that phase one was the 11,000 plus the 125, and the 125 included some tree removal.
Yep.
But it was not detailed out originally that this additional 12,000 is above the phase one that council received a presentation on for more tree removal around the pond. So I have those separated out now because it was not clearly defined the first time. So if you wanted to put everything back in that Gulf asked for, you would add $29,000 back in for master plan phase one, plus another $12,000 for the additional tree removal, and that means staff would not be doing any of the tree removal, is my understanding.
Jason, you were planning on the staff utilizing them for the tree removal then?
For some of it. We were going, Nathan has got a tree company to set up to do some work around the lake. And we were figuring on trying to do some of it ourselves to save some of that money for other projects. So ideally, and we're interviewing this week for 2 individuals. So hopefully next year we're fully staffed and we're able to do some more of that. We don't want to run ourselves too thin though. And so, but if we get that done and we get the forward tees done, and there's still some money left, either roll it over or work on leveling tees or whatever. So hopefully we get it. Hopefully we get as much bang for the buck that we can. So.
So since I brought it up, so is the 29 enough to do what you want to do and not the additional 12?
Yeah.
And you'll mix and match where you can and see what you can get done? Is that?
Yep. I think so.
I'm having a hard time at 41, the 29 plus 12, but the 29 I'm okay with. But thanks, Stephanie, I didn't.
Just tracking it, just to make sure everyone knows what you're talking about.
Are you interviewing for the 12 this coming week for the round pond area or not?
No.
Say that again.
The new golf.
New
golf course position.
Staff member that you're going to.
Yep.
Hopefully we can have in 2022.
Yep.
Maybe I was misunderstanding this, but the phase one is going to be completed. It was just that we were going to be able to utilize internal help, and then that's why you back down the 29. Is that right, Bob? Correct. So it's still going to get completed. So I don't think.
Yeah.
But so if we put it back in, then your people are going to have to find another project to do, and we would hire out all the tree removal.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay.
And just for, we were able to remove 70 trees last year. Weather cooperated, and it made a big change. We actually still have a couple stumps to remove yet this year. Since we were shorthanded, we got a good chunk of it done this spring, didn't get back to it, and hopefully we'll get back to it. But
So maybe what we can do, if you guys think about this, is, okay, you want to do it, Marty? Is the fact of, let's get the phase one done, and you've got the money to do it, and you got the personnel to do it, and then if you're ahead of schedule and things are working well, then the additional trees that are around that pond, if that's something that you can tackle, then maybe you can circle back around to us, and if you don't have enough funding from the original, then maybe we can take a look at part of the contingency. Was that kind of what your thought was, Marty?
Perfect. The one other thing that was in that is possibly some design work for future hole 11, some tee boxes, whatever. So that was another little part of the possibility what we would use that money for. So,
Jason, do you think your staff, that pond is not easy to rip up and keep the trees that need to be kept?
that part would be a little trickier to handle.
I'm thinking that needs to be hired out, is my point.
Well, the trees out in the middle of the golf course, we've got a payloader with grapple. We can knock that over, grapple it.
But
cut it
here,
down.
I was looking at the rubbish, you need to save, 20% of the trees maybe? Them hackberries look good, they got to get in there.
Until we really go in and evaluate what's there and start marking trees.
And I'm assuming they got to do that in the winter when it's froze? To get down the bottom and start working up?
Yep.
And if you have a bad winter?
And that's just it. Like I said, last winter, cooperated with us. We were able to get a lot done in a short period of time.
The $12,000 would be well spent in my mind to have professionals come in and.
But I think what Jeff was saying.
6 o'clock, so we need to suspend this meeting and go into our regular meeting. Hold that thought, we'll bring you back after.
Do we want to meet?
So,
I think we'll have a short meeting tonight. Do we want to come back after that meeting?
I think so, and do you anticipate any action after executive session, Mayor? So what would it be a possibility of having that between regular council and the executive session, continue with our budget?
And then do executive session after that, sir?
well, if we can do that legally. Yeah.
He says yes, so we must be
All right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do more budget and then go into executive session afterwards. Okay? All right. Call the regular meeting to order, start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by word of life.
Lord, we just thank you for this gorgeous day that we've had today. God, we thank you for all the decisions being made throughout our city. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for your guidance. We ask you, God, to be with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington.
Here.
Allen. Charts. Smith.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing in the consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove or discuss?
Move to approve.
Motion.
Oh, one.
By Mr. Allen.
Are you on consent? Can I? Okay, I'm off to the side here a little bit, so sorry about that. Good. I know, I'm back. I don't have anything that I'm going to vote against, but I'm on a foundation board, the pro hockey, so I think I want to pull that out so I can abstain on that, particularly on the raffle.
Fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we'll pull out the item G, raffle permits. Oh, wait. Just
If you want to just pull one off.
Just the pro hockey one.
Yeah.
Okay. There are 4 others, so. Okay, further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of these? Okay, roll call vote on all but the hockey, pro hockey.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts. Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, pro hockey.
Motion approved.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Rice. Okay, further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address that? Roll call, please.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts. Smith.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Citizens' input. If you need to address the mayor or member of city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentation is limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered but no action will be taken. Does anybody wish to address council?
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Van Erdwick. Or, Mrs. Beck, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll be short. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jerry Beck with the Mitchell Area Development Corporation, and I think you guys have received a report from us for the last quarter in your packets. I'm sure you studied it, so I'll only talk about new stuff. How's that? I want to say thank you to Doug Greenway and the Palace staff that allowed us to have our workforce summit over here last week, Wednesday. It was well attended. The surveys were glowing, so people, I think, learned something and got some new ideas about how to promote their jobs and how to work on culture and social media. So appreciate the city's help with that event. I would actually just ask you to flip over to the back page if you have the report, and if you don't, that's no problem. I just was going to report on 3 things that we are focusing on as a development corporation. Nothing new here. Workforce development, of which the Workforce Summit was part of that. And we were awarded $50,000 from the Governor's Office of Economic Development for hiring incentives or upskilling. So if you know of employers that are members of our corporation or would like to become one, we have some matching funds from GOED and from the Development Corporation. And our phone's ringing, so people are wondering if they're eligible and if they can use it in unique ways, which is great. There's also a marketing campaign that goes with that, and it's promoting our open jobs in South Dakota in states where we're getting the most people moving to South Dakota, so that's good news. Workforce housing, I just want to let you know we got a little good news today. We have a earmark on a Senate appropriations bill, thanks to Senator Rounds, and it made it past the first cut. And we were included at a funding level that we requested, so fingers crossed, anything can happen in D.C., it sounds like, but we didn't get cut out immediately, so that's good news. And then we are pursuing developing a happy organization in Mitchell, South Dakota. We have the executive director from Aberdeen coming down soon to meet with our development corporation and other officials that sit on our boards, and basically tell us how they've been successful in Aberdeen with 9 different developments for affordable housing. So hang on for more on that. We want to be in a position to accept the money, whether it's federal or state or any other source, to work on affordable housing. Final thing, I just want to talk about downtown revitalization and the progress that is happening on the Western Building. All these things we've been working on for months, the TIF and 1031 exchange and the historic preservation, everything's kind of falling in place. So thank you for your staff's work, and so far so good. We transferred the land from the city to the Development Corporation last week, and so we're off and running. On the back of the page is some information about how our population didn't grow much in the last 10 years, and that's our biggest challenge, is growing our population. So unless there's questions, I will get out of the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Hi, I'm Sonia Van Erdwick, Mitchell Township. I have some handouts for you. There's 2 separate ones.
Yep.
Happy fall. Today I wanted to talk a little bit, you know every time I come I'm talking about COVID.
No, you talked about 5G once.
Yeah, well, I could talk about that too, but I'm just going to give you an update on the VAERS report. That's the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And I think people are kind of downplaying this. There's, in the U.S. and the territories, it's 16,766 deaths. Now, we stopped previous vaccination trials at 50. And we're at 16,766, and that's just for the VAERS reporting system. That doesn't even account for the CMS system that I talked about before, is the Medicare reporting system. There's been over 45,000 deaths there. There's been over 2,508 miscarriages, heart attacks. There's been over 8,000. 24,805 people have been permanently disabled. And one that you may not even think of is 9,472 people have had shingles from the shot. There's actually natural treatments for that, L-lysine, if you want to know. So the other thing I want to talk about is there's been some confusion about the Pfizer shots. People have said that the Pfizer shot has actually been FDA approved, and that is not true at all. The only one that's been approved is the Comirnaty, and that's the page I gave you. I actually only gave you a couple of the pages because I didn't want to waste with the other ones. If you want to know it, you can kind of look it up and see where it's at. But it is the official fact sheet that you would give to recipients and caregivers. Is actually a different one for people that are giving the shot. But if you can see down here, you go down to the 4th paragraph, it says Comirnaty is an FDA-approved COVID-19 vaccine made by Pfizer for BioNTech. However, that one is not currently available to anyone in the United States. Not one soul can get that, okay? And then if you go down, it says the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has received EUA. That's emergency use authorization. They got an extension of that. So currently, right now, none of the shots available in the United States have been approved. They are not approved by the FDA. So you get this talking from the White House and other people that are saying it is approved, and it's actually a lie. And I will say that right here. It is a lie, because if you look at the FDA documents that I just gave you, none of the shots available right now are emergency use. None of them are approved. They're emergency use authorization. What does that mean? It's like what I've said before. Emergency use authorization law, you have to know the risk and the benefits for that shot, and you have to know other options and risks and benefits as well. And you have to have the ability to say yes or no. And we are not being able to do that. So we're getting all of this, mandates, da-da-da-da. I don't know how many people I've helped with religious exemptions. We shouldn't have to use a religious exemption for an experiment. So what I am imploring to you all is never get to that point where you're going to mandate and you push back because it's not FDA approved. That's all I kind of wanted to say for you guys. But the other page that is very important that I want to say quickly is when they put out one that's FDA approved, they have to talk about who can take it and who can't and what are possible side effects. And so that's what the other pages that you see here. And they specifically mention some. They're saying for pregnant women shouldn't be or planning to be pregnant, but yet right now they're recommending it for that. So check this document out. It'll get you a lot of information. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay, Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the City Council recess to this Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sabers. Second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on application for Abbott House. Withdrawn. Abbott House applied for conditional use permit to construct an asphalt parking facility. It turns out that that is a acceptable use for the area, so that it's been withdrawn. Okay. Hearing an action on application for Ryan and April Kirkpatrick. Ryan and April Kirkpatrick have applied for a side yard on a corner variance of 0 feet versus 20 feet is required to construct an attached pergola at 823 East 5th Avenue, legally described Lot 1, Block 11, FM Green Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County. Property is zoned R2 single family. Mr. Janigas.
Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended denial of this 5-0 with 2 absent. As you recall, back in April, they came in for a side yard on a corner for 11 feet versus 20. They got the permit for that. They began construction on that. They poured a patio off to the east side of the building, and when they did that, they put anchors in for their fence. They're going to put a fence up along that whole wall, along that whole sidewalk. And since it's anchored into the concrete instead of dug down your normal 4 feet or so, they attached the pergola to the house to try and get some rigidity for that part of it. That was the main concern from Planning Commission, was it was done without the permit. It wasn't the right process, and it's a 0 foot on the corner, even though it is further back. The contractor is here if you have any questions for him at all.
Would this be allowed if it were freestanding?
If it were freestanding without the pergola, yes, because the fence can go right up to the sidewalk. Heg had talked about the couple different times that he's brought fence regulations to the board saying we need to do that, but that's never ever gone through. So
okay, so fence would be allowed, but with the pergola there, it's not.
Correct.
Whether the pergola is attached to the house or not.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Don't leave yet.
This was the house that burned down and they rebuilt?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm the contractor that built that first building the house.
State name, please.
My name's Chris Stemper. Here's another picture too. You can see it around. It shows how the fence is coming in.
Okay.
That was taken this weekend.
All right.
When the patio was poured, there was no fence, there was no post, there was nothing there. We were doing the concrete first. I was trying to get the sidewalk done for the inspectors, as it was just, it was just before school, and it was all tore up from the excavators that tore the house down. So we wanted to get the sidewalk and that concrete done as soon as possible. So we were kind of thinking ahead for the anchors that we put in there. We didn't want to have holes in that concrete, that therefore it's more solid and it doesn't accept moisture. It'll stay straight and it won't crack. That's why we went to these anchors. In hindsight, they're not going to hold that fence up. They have to be tied into the house. So before any of these posts or any of the posts that you see for the fence on them pictures were there, the sidewalk inspector came by to check out my sidewalk work, make sure everything was good. I said it was all fine. I says, the only other questions I have for you, and those anchors were in that concrete then, and I pointed them out to him. I says, the fence comes through here, but we're going to have a pergola across here to sturdy this up. I says, the tips will be sticking out over the sidewalk a bit. Is that going to be a problem? He says, nope, no problem, as long as you keep everything up 8 foot. And I mean, at that point, maybe I should have pursued it farther, but the guy says if you keep it in there and keep it up 8 foot, it shouldn't be a problem.
How high are they?
10 foot, 10, 11 foot. The fence, the picture on the other fence, those are 6 foot. The fence posts are at 6 foot, so you can kind of judge the height. And that fence goes right through there, and the 2 center posts, there'll be a double gate. And so it has to be rigid, it has to be, and plus they got a St. Bernard. The fence has to be solid. So that's why we put the anchors in there, and I had my doubts, I had my questions, and I was going to come to the engineer and ask him about it, but the sidewalk guy says, hey, if you get it up over 8 foot, you're fine. So I built it. Or I was building it until they made me stop. And like I say, it's the new homeowners. They had a house there, it burnt down. They're young, they got two kids, a huge dog, and they're trying to build this first home the way they want it. And I'm just trying to accommodate them. We're making everything as nice as we can. That's all custom built. All the tips are all handmade for what they wanted to do. Regardless, if they decide it has to come down, the posts are going to still be there. The fence is going to be there. The only thing that's different is that framing on top won't be there. And to take that down, it has to be piece by piece by piece. You can't pick that up and take it off of there and reuse it or put it on a different part of the house. It has to, every piece has to be manually taken apart. And I guess that's where we are with that.
So the poles would stay in there, the fence is going to be up regardless.
Yep, fence is going to be right exactly where, if we have to take it down, then we have to cut holes in the concrete where those 4 posts are, drill down, put a traditional fence post in there, and then we got breaks in our concrete. And that's what we were trying to avoid for moisture, which will come underneath the sidewalk also, and we didn't want to do that. So we were using these anchors, which actually hold that post up about 1 inch off of the concrete. It's not touching anything. We thought it was a better application for the construction.
No neighbor concerns at all? Anybody? No. No?
This is a smaller lot. Is this 50-foot lot?
It's a small lot. It's teeny tiny. That's why they had to apply for the first variance for the back set.
I think it's a nice addition to the neighborhood, and if you were told by the sidewalk guy, I mean, a city employee, I don't see why you'd have to take it down, and I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it. You know, one thing I guess I'm looking at is the fact that there's going to be something there. It's either that or the fence. So the sidewalk ain't going to increase any better room or anything else. I mean, yes, it's attached, which is against obviously what we have in our ordinance and stuff like that. But it's a fact that you're not going to gain or better the sidewalk area at all, which no matter which way we go. And I guess, you know, like I said, I don't know, it's you know, slap your hands or whatever it may be, but I know you didn't do it on purpose by any means. It wasn't like you're intending to do something and get us approval. I'm with Doc on this, and I'll second his motion, so.
Yeah, further discussion?
I would look at it also in the same light, Marty, of if the neighbors had some heartache with this, then I would also. but given the fact, did anybody, Danny, were you able to attend that meeting at all?
I was not. That's not Danny's.
Oh, that's right, John's on there now. Oh, Bob, were you there?
No, I was not.
Okay, all right. Well, there wasn't anybody in opposition or anybody that spoke either way. Then I'm, yes, it's a mistake, but in reality, the fence would be there anyway. And so you're not going to hinder anybody walking or biking or whatever if that pergola remains. So I'm going to be fine with it too.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 11/121. Ricardo Cruz has applied for side yard on quarter variance of 0 feet versus 15 feet is required to construct a carport at 1320 South Raleigh Street, legally described as Lot 7, Block 6, University Avenue, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned R4.
Move to set the date.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 11/121. Montessori School Mitchell has applied for a conditional use permit for a child care preschool and nursery at 620 East 4th Avenue, legally described Lot 2, Block 31, Cooley and Guernsey Addition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Property is zoned R2, single family.
Set the date.
Second. Motion by Mr. Charks, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene the City Council, entertain a motion for Board of Adjustment to adjourn City Council reconvene regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to award bid for cemetery hayland lease, project 2025-5.
Mr. Mayor, Council, bids were opened on October 14th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. This is a 3-year lease at the cemetery. 2 bidders submitted bids, one by Tanner Music and one by Paul Stevenson. Paul Stevenson was the higher of the 2 bids at $2,323 per year, or $6,969 for the 3 years. Staff recommends award the bid to Paul Stevenson.
How many acres is that, Joe? And what's it come out per acre?
I don't have that information off the top of my head.
23 acres.
101 per acre.
There we go.
23 acres lump sum. For hayground, that's pretty good. Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve access by private road from William Goldhammer.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is a request for a private access on an unimproved right-of-way. This is for an entrance to a home. With that said, the city will not be responsible for any maintenance. The cost to put in the private road will be at the sole cost of that lot owner, and the city will not be removing snow if approved by you.
Ultimately, this is a city right-of-way, correct?
Correct.
Schrader?
Yes.
So that eventually it will become part of the housing development if that continues to go forward. So this is a platted road by the city, it's just nothing's been done yet. Mr. Goldhammer would like to use it as access, is that right, Mr. Goldhammer? To a home somebody's going to build up there? I guess a family member, I'm assuming?
Is this road 66 feet wide?
Yes, sir. The right-of-way is.
Just I guess one other point that I feel should be discussed is, it's referred to as a private access, but it's all located in public right-of-way. It might be privately funded, privately built, privately used, but it would still technically be open to the use by other public members who might be trying to get access in that area. We would not be limiting access to whoever could use that.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Savers, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Do you want to say anything, Mr. Goldhammer? I didn't hear that. Do you want to say anything?
No.
Just wanted to give you your opportunity.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yep, okay. Anybody else want to discuss this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement 8/2021-56 Spruce Street Railroad Crossing Design and Bidding Services with Burroughs Engineering. Mr. Schrader.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is an agreement with Burroughs Engineering to provide design and bidding services for our Spruce Street Extension project. You guys have seen this project presented to you numerous times. We do have an agreement with the DOT as regards BNSF. We'll be completing approximately 100 feet of this work. Total length is 460 feet. The project extends the 5-lane just past the first drive of Mitchell Technical College and also connects the sidewalk to the college as well. Another big portion of this project is permitting with BNSF, which Burroughs will handle as well. Staff does recommend approval for an hourly rate not to exceed of $49,980. We do foresee, or we will plan to retain Burroughs for future construction staking, which we'll bring back at a later date.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, so, you know, one of the things that I was just talking about with someone is how when there's a train that goes through here, there's no access if there were to be a fire. Is there any thought, I mean, this doesn't include anything that would build a bridge that would go over that?
Right.
I mean, what do
We've had discussions with the
In our-
state senate and DOT about extending Foster under the interstate.
Yeah.
So that has been discussed, but right now there's nothing.
And that also was brought up in the transportation study that is taking place to at least get that on the list
So it's kind of
for that.
a wish list item.
For
We
that,
hope
but-
to get done eventually.
Yeah, but if we never have it on, the state doesn't have it on a list, and if we never get it on a list, it will never be done, so we're going to at least get it on this transportation study list.
I feel like it's a priority. I mean, I feel like it's just got to be something that we put at the top of our list.
Well, it's about a $13 million project, probably.
So the
Yes, that's what we're trying to get.
The preliminary discussions with DOT is that it'll probably be considered when they decide to redo that portion of the interstate, but they don't have that on their schedule currently.
I've got another question. So we'll be redoing that approach from both sides at the railroad crossing there. How long will that be closed down and we have to go all the way around for the detour?
It'll probably be 2 months.
And what time of year? So Mitchell Tech will have to drive all the way down and around in
So
order
the-
to get to campus?
So we will allow them to be able to start in the spring, just because of the time frame of the project and making sure that we want to get it done before they start school again and because of Dakota Fest. So we'll have a completion
So,
date probably.
Like from May 1st till August 1st?
Yeah.
That's not how you get.
That's why I wanted to bring that up, yeah.
There's, and this project will also include a bore under the railroad tracks for our water main.
Water, yeah.
It's,
Because we've got a vault, underground vault in that
Yep.
area, correct?
Yep. So it's a substantial project. I know it's a small area, but it's still fairly substantial.
Okay, do we have a motion? Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The action to approve resolution R 2021-70, plat of lot 13, block 5 of the Woods First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, as requested by CJM Consultants.
Mayor and Council Planning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 with 2 absent. Follows the master plan out there. There were no concerns from anybody on the board about it.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those, anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll hold off on the executive session until after our budget talks.
Mayor?
Just to hopefully clean up our minutes that we'll be doing, I'd suggest we do a motion to recess, resume the work session, and then we'll resume the regular council session after you wrap up the work session.
Okay, entertain a motion to recess.
Move to recess to the planning meeting.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Barron. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Mr. Barrington has to go to a family function for a little bit, so.
Okay. Okay.
Back to
Steve,
you,
did you
Mr.
have, do you have a few other things that you said? Let's go down Steve's list.
Do we need to pick up on the golf?
I just want to make sure this is where I had highlighted that we
So I wanna-
stopped. There
Okay,
was
so what is-
discussion by Steve, Marty, and Jeff of going up to 125,000 for this. Is that correct? Adding $29,000 back into the budget. It was currently at 96. Is that correct?
Well, as long as the project gets done and we can do it internally, then I'm fine with the way the budget is listed. Because if we add it back in, then Jason will have to find and Nathan will have to find projects that they already had identified for the personnel. So I guess I'm fine with keeping it out. I don't know what, Steve, what your thought is.
I'll defer to Jason. I just want to make sure we have enough to get phase one done.
So right now, it's set at 96, correct?
96 plus 11.
Yeah, 107.
Yeah.
Where's my notes?
Yeah.
Yes. My little Post-it note.
I mean, yeah, if we're able to, because the packing box was pulled out and that other was pulled out, yeah, I mean, we'll get as much done as we possibly can.
But if you have a bad winter,
Yep.
there's zero chance you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because to do tree removal on that scale is, the biggest key is getting going as soon as we can, as soon as there's a little bit of frost on the ground. But if we get a bad winter, we aren't bringing in contractors either, so.
They would be doing it during season.
Yeah.
Nathan,
So-
something to add.
Nate Powell, Parks and Rec Director. Again, without the 12,000, it'd be difficult to get it all done. We wouldn't be able to get that pond done. We would have to pull that out.
But and Stephanie's point, the pond part really wasn't initially part of phase one.
That's correct. That wouldn't get done, though. I mentioned that it would get done. It would not get done if that doesn't go up to a
Why don't we
higher
then
than
put
96. Yeah.
12,000 in and tell you to work on it and partially concentrate at least on the pond update
that would help.
in anticipation for hopefully 2 years down the road when maybe we're talking about restructuring hole 11.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make that change of, if we think we can get phase one done with the 96 and then add the 12 so that we can look at the pond on 11 and maybe get some professional help there, then I would make that motion or that suggestion for a change. That
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Is there 4? Okay.
You okay
Okay.
with that, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get done what we can, and if we can't get it done, then we're
At least
going back
we've
asking
got
for more.
the money in there to give it a shot and see
Yeah.
how
Yep.
it goes between now and next June. Okay.
Yeah, but
Thanks.
96 is staying at 96.
Yep, staying at 96, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. And I wanted to focus on the master plan and phase one and that type of
Yep.
stuff, but I've also been the advocate for that pond
Yep.
and it's an eyesore based on lake cleanup and it's right by the Indian village and I think it has potential and we need to look at something.
The one thing with that pond, excuse me, one thing with that pond though is that when we do clean it up and we have a little bit of sun getting in there, we're going to have other maintenance stuff going on with it. So just so you're aware of that.
But we cleaned up the area to the west of there, and we have a waterfall, and people using it for fishing and all sorts of other things. So it's, to me, a public use area.
So I just want to make sure everyone is aware, the 96 plus 11 gives us 107 towards phase one master plan with the additional tree removal internally, as much as possible, and then $12,000 for tree removal around the pond.
Correct.
Does that sound right? Okay, good deal.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have more?
Yeah, I've got more.
You keep going, we'll let you go through your list.
Okay. Yeah, I've got pages, but I'll.
Remember, you only got 900,000.
No, most of this, I don't even think I'm asking for anything, I'm just asking for thinking consideration. An additional thing at the golf course, and we've had an issue for as long as I can remember, of the software program for the driving range, and can we get that moved over to the IT department to have somebody with some IT knowledge look at the software? We went with the city's point of sale system and all that, and that has helped there. And we've got a one-off range servant control system that I would just like to make sure we have that under control, and maybe Jason.
So we did get a quote on that from the same company to update that. The current software is outdated, so if we have any problems whatsoever, there's
We're
no
on our own.
replacing anything.
Yep.
I believe it was about $7,500 to update it.
8,000 in the budget request.
Yep.
And I'm not saying put it in or whatever, I'm just saying we need, please consider it for future and maybe have it. It's not any different than another department in the city having IT software.
Well, what I
system.
would say,
So-
though, any software that's specific to a department, that department pays it. Golf pays it, the rec center pays theirs, landfill has some specific software they use that they pay.
Okay.
The only thing that we take out of IT is anything that's serving citywide.
Okay.
So the POS systems, we've done server administration, all that kind of stuff goes citywide.
Okay, I guess I'm, for right now, just pointing out that it's a pain.
And for this year.
And it's way outdated. So as we think about the golf course long-term future, it probably is going to need something.
And so far this year, the only problems we've had is some buttons won't work on it. We've been able to get them to work again. And absolute worst-case scenario, they start selling buckets in the clubhouse, which is a pain, but it's possible. So.
Yep, there's a workaround, but it's labor-intensive.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, can I keep going?
You just go right down the
Okay,
list.
I want to make a comment about recycle, and I was the lone vote against it when the city took over. So I've been tracking it every month, and I guess I've got a little disappointment and still some good news. When we first took it over and we had the presentations, it was stated that we could get to 100 tons a month. Part of that was based on information that Dependable had given the city through their contract that they had to send to the state. And they gave us data that said they were doing approximately 100 tons a month, and we signed off on 1,200 tons and sent it off to the state. And the first year that we took it over, we had 65 tons a month. So we dropped 35 tons. And the question that always comes back to me is, if you believe the Dependable numbers were really 100, and while I don't really know if I believe them or not, the city signed off on $100 a month, 100 tons a month, and we sent it to the state. So 100 tons a month is what we said we could do. So whether you believe them or not, that was the basis. So the good news is, in the second year that we've started, we're up to 78 tons a month. So that's so far this year. So that's really good. But the question I still had, and I talked with Jeff Miedema, what's happening with the commercial recycle accounts? Now, he said he started in this last year, the COVID year was real tough, but he started and he's got some commercial accounts and sent me some scale tickets from our recycle center of 7 and 8 tons a week sometimes that and it's not every week, but when he does have a load, he can bring it to them. And he said, I think he had 8 or 10, no, maybe up to 20 accounts, but some of them are either doing some private stuff or they're just throwing it away. So I want to see what, if anything, we can do from the recycle standpoint to try and improve commercial recycle. Private industry, and Jeff is trying to do as much as he can, picking it up, but it's a, it's a little bit different animal than garbage. And then the other item on the recycle that we talked about last year, and I still haven't heard anything that's happened, is what are we doing on multi-dwelling units or apartments that we're charging everyone and not picking up any of their recycle? And is there something that should be done budget-wise? Do we need to budget big dumpsters for these places and then have some commercial person pick them up? Or is the city going to pick up commercial recycle from, pick up from dumpsters from some of these apartment buildings that we're charging them, but we're not picking up 64 blue bins from Edgerton Place. So those people are getting charged, and I don't know what they're doing with their recycle. So those are the questions I have on recycle. I was pleased as punch that Jeff Miedema and I had the discussion, and he's picking up got commercial cardboard contracts, and that's fantastic. And I think we need to figure out if we can have, I've had requests that people would like to see on our website, the monthly recycle tonnage, those types of things, and see what we're doing. The cost per ton has doubled since we took it over, but we put a lot of things into it, and I think the commercial recycle drop-off center at the landfill is a great idea, and we should look at promoting Mitchell as a recycle center and not preventing people from bringing material to our landfill. So that's all I got on recycle. Another item or question that I have, and it's Stephanie, was on your note that came out and with all the projects and the project map and those types of things. We have the Raleigh to Norway at Cabela in green, but what about Norway, the bike path from Norway to Burr? Is that not part, is that a different type of project, or?
It's a bike path project.
Right, this one,
Yeah,
yep.
it's just not on the map. It is included in the budget for next year because the project's not getting completed this year and we're rolling it. to
Correct.
2022.
Okay.
I considered that as a bike path project, so I didn't throw it on there. I could have.
Oh, okay.
We can update that just for the
was
general
just-
public.
I wanted
yeah.
to make sure was all there and not part of it, because I think that bike path and then the state, was it 2023?
Yep.
2023, 2024, when we do North Main and
Yep.
all of that bike path should be a great addition to help connect everything together.
Really, what I had asked Joe for this map is just so the general public, when we go out and publish the budget, when we get to that point, can see a general idea of where the work is going to happen in 2022.
Okay. Then, and Kevin, just one other thing, and then all the other stuff I think we've already talked about. From the budget standpoint, and Justin, it's kind of a question to you, do we have any open legal issues that if they're decided upon good or bad in our favor or against our favor that potentially impact 2022?
I can't think of anything
Okay.
significant that's
I
outstanding.
know we have one drainage, we have drainage out west thing with the county and other stuff, but there's no monetary impact to us, is there?
Well, I mean, there's not currently, and there's not an active suit at
Okay.
this time. I mean, there's certainly improvements that could be made there, but I think at this point, it's not a city liability.
If we handled our end of that, did we not?
I would say that we've gone above and beyond in relation to that project, but we're still having ongoing discussions with the county on the remainder of the work.
Okay. Okay. And then Stephanie's self-funded health, we're sitting really good, and we probably
Yep.
shouldn't have any increases. And
Right, and you'll see, we won't be requesting an increase to rates for health insurance again this year, just because we are fully funded. That comes from budgeting at the maximum liability level, and we already been hitting the estimated claims. So we have another year of 0 increases for premiums.
Okay.
And it's above what our original goal was by quite a bit, so.
How much is it?
We have at least $2 million, and our goal was to get $1 million in there, so. Yeah, no, before, when I got here, you had nothing. You had budget, yeah. My goal was to get it to $1 million to 1.3 to be fully funded, and you've hit that. So that's why we've done another year of no premium increases. The mayor has granted a premium holiday for employees October, November, and December, because a lot of that money also came from those contributions from employees.
Oh, so we did?
And
Did another holiday.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And I don't believe we even budgeted for council, or for the city to do an increase in insurance this year, right? It's flat at the same level, right? Yeah, so health insurance was also budgeted at 0% for the city increase as well.
Okay.
So that's why you have a little bit more to deal with than you usually do for
And
funding
one
too.
other question, you might not have it right off the top of your head, but the salary structure increase, what was that?
3.25%.
No, what's the dollar amount?
Oh, I actually might, hold on.
300 plus?
Well, no, because this just shows that, I can
If you
get it
could,
to you.
yeah, get it
Yeah,
for
I'll
the
get it
next
to you.
time.
And I'll actually add that into the budget overview.
Okay.
Yep, total salary increase.
Yeah, what we estimate that, because it depends on people moving and getting all their stuff in and all that stuff, but what that dollar increase was for this year, because we're going into budget. And we're going into negotiation again, right?
Yeah, next year will be, we have one more year, 2022 is already negotiated, but we'll be opening for another contract
Right,
in
in
2022.
2022.
Yep. Which again will be helpful with the revised budget timeline to get through those negotiations before you have to finalize budget, to giving us a little more time to work with, so that'll be good.
Thank you, Kim.
Joe, in the newspaper on the 14th, there was an article about our chemical feed and pump facility, $11 million. Is that what we already acted on, or is that new
Nope.
in addition to, just wanted to make sure that was what we already,
Yep, you have already acted on that. That's the project you've been hearing about.
So it's not additional?
No.
I hope you never hear about an
additional 11. He's not getting.
He's not getting it.
I hope you never hear about an additional project from the newspaper that I haven't told you about
Right.
yet.
If you remember,
No offense, Sam.
in this year's budget, you did have, for 2021, we were talking about the ground storage tank. When we had our capital projects meeting, I don't know, earlier this year before we started budget, we talked about that expanded need with the chemical treatment part, so that SRF is going to be higher than what they originally anticipated, so we will have to come back with that rate change for the other half of that cost. But it is not a project that the council hasn't already talked about. You've already discussed it, but we have not implemented the additional rate increase that's necessary to do the whole project.
and when will that be?
I would assume, I think we were thinking spring, weren't we?
Correct.
Yeah.
Between March and May, somewhere in there.
Just remind me how much that increase is going to be. Is that the 40?
I think we had it in
This is base rate and
this.
We were estimating an additional $4.50.
I have a quick one on Cadwell Park. They've been talking about a shade structure out there, and now we're finding out that the press box is rotting out there too, so the press box may need to be replaced. And what Tim Smith's been doing a lot of research on it. And what they talk about doing is bringing the press box out and have that be the shade structure, so we take care of two birds with one stone, with doing a shade structure with the press box. And I know they have they have some money. Mitchell Baseball isn't going to get some money, the Exchange Club, Buck Timmons deal. They got a couple private donors that are talking maybe 50, 25 apiece, 1,000 apiece. And I would think, I'd like that, and they've had somebody that's trying to get a plan right now together, because I'd like to do it in the spring and get it done so we can continue to have the state baseball tournament for who knows how long. I just think if we could put maybe 50,000 out of the contingency towards that project, and whatever we don't use, we can put back into the, and Jeff and I have talked about it in the past too, but it's something that they want to get it done fast because the press box is falling apart. A lot of old people come to the state baseball tournament. Huh? No, over the grandstands. Then it would be a shade structure plus the press box. Would act as two things, and then the commissioners, Jeff and I have talked to the commissioners with amateur baseball, and they said if they get a shade structure, that more than likely we could have the state tournament as often as we wanted it.
I think last February, the Baseball Association gave 5,000 to the project.
I think they're going to give more than that. I think they're going to give quite a bit more than that. 'Cause, just to budget it instead of coming back later on and asking for it. And if we don't use it, if we use 20 of it.
Would we put that in parks then?
Well, I would say if that's something that you're wanting to do, I would prefer that you actually show it as a budgeted item in Park and Rec, so that we don't have to go through contingency transfers. You'd actually have to do 2 contingency transfers to equal the 50,000, because you'd have to do the transfers of cash as well as the budget authority in Park and Rec. So I just think if you're planning on doing it, put it in there. You could,
Look at that in
council
the
can
Park
always
and
put a
Rec budget.
caveat, you could always put a caveat on there that says that this money is contingent on final council approval, or this budgeted item.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, in parks then.
If we give it, they'll quit fundraising.
And as soon as they've already got, I bet they got a lot.
That's going to cost way more than you think.
And they have somebody's drawing up plans right now. They're waiting for the final cost to come in. And if they can get it done quick enough, they could start it in the spring and have it ready for baseball
Are they
season.
working with Park and Rec now on that, or?
I don't know.
You haven't heard anything, have you, Mr. Paul?
Not regarding that, just the shade. Just the shade structures themselves. That's the only conversation we've had. And Jeremy's here as well.
Have to be some design.
Jeremy?
Yeah, they're getting a design right there. They're having this.
Except if there's going to be a design, the city's going to have to get
Yep.
involved in that rather than a private entity trying to find somebody to design it. So if we're going to do that, we need to have some discussions.
Well, I'm anxious to see that happen, so.
Yeah, and then, you could have the Buck Timmons or what,
So you said Kevin and Susan, is there 4 that want me to?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's fine if you put it on the contingent on.
Dan, are you good with it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we can throw Marty in there too. We can throw Marty in too.
Put Marty down as a no.
I'll speak for Marty, he's come back and represent us more.
I'll just say all present.
I don't have anything to add in, but I just would like just a couple clarifications and maybe for future budgets. But on the street department, I see the fuel system upgrade, $220,000. Is that part of what went bad on us a few months ago that we had to? Wasn't there something out at the street department that we had to improve on?
Yeah, I'll let Joe speak to that
Okay.
one.
So on our fuel system, we have been having reports from BA&R that it's needing to be replaced. We had it in the budget last year for the design, and through the design, I think we had an estimated 140 to do the project, but the prices have gone up so much that we need what is it, 220? Is that what's on there?
220, yeah.
To complete the project. And that's basically for all new tanks for our fuel system.
Or okay.
are having problems with flaking inside the tanks and those types of issues, and they need to be replaced.
Are those metal tanks?
Fiberglass.
And
So it's been removed from the,
New tanks will be fiberglass.
Yes. When we had our internal discussions, it was my understanding that the payloader in that same department was a higher priority than the fuel tanks, so we were looking to do the fuel tanks
Okay.
next year, or the following year. So we just
I figured that was the case.
did the bump in order to get the payloader funded.
Okay. And then the other one I had was Patton Young Park. We bypassed on 100,000. Is that the equipment, playground equipment?
Yes.
And that was going to be the handicap accessible equipment?
Yeah, we figured it can wait 1 year.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
fine. And the Kiwanis Club is putting in,
That's why.
Right.
yeah, so we will have a park in town that will have
Yep.
handicap accessible playground equipment because Kiwanis is putting it in.
We also had a number of people in that neighborhood call and say they didn't want to see that playground equipment changed.
Oh, they like it.
And where?
Like-
In Patton Young?
Yeah.
No, not
Well,
that,
I got
I'm sure,
calls on
I'm
it.
sure you did.
Maybe you don't like it, and maybe
I'm-
people
I'm
complain.
sure
to
you did, but
I
they-
got calls that said, don't replace
The
it.
people that walk there complain to me almost daily.
And I think I gave additional clarification to that on the capital projects overview, if you look at that. Because they had the fundraising already in hand for
Yeah,
the one
yep,
part.
I understand
They
that.
put that one
Yep,
ahead of the
yep,
other one.
and that's fine.
And they'll
I
be
just
doing-
want to make sure I put a plug for Patton Young Park, at least for the next year. I can show you a picture of my daughter in 1991 sliding down the little red slide, and I can show you a picture of my granddaughter in 2021 sliding down the same little red slide. So that, a lot, yeah. Great equipment. And the swings that are there are from 1986. That slide is from 1986. The climbing ladder is from 1986.
Yeah, the
So,
plan is.
so a lot of that has lasted, but
that's
we don't have any other parks in town that have equipment that's 35 years old.
And that's one of the reasons it didn't get cut.
I
or
know.
Cut it this year was because.
Because of
we
the
had to take
Kiwanis.
stuff out of the
Yep,
budget.
yep, and I-
People
I
have called
fully
and said,
understand and agree with that.
Don't change that.
But just don't overlook it again.
Well, you got a year. That's your park.
And
rec board.
actually, I believe that, Nate, didn't you say there was already some fundraising being done for Patton Young as well?
We were going to start that if funding
Yeah.
was approved, but we've had small donations come in already.
Anything else? If not, we can adjourn if nobody has anything else to say.
No, we have to go.
You're
No,
gonna.
but we can
Are
adjourn,
you done with budget?
we can adjourn from the budget.
Can I ask for one additional clarification? So I think I can send this out to you, recapping to everybody what I heard for changes tonight. I didn't hear any other changes to capital requests, is that correct? Okay, so it looks like right now, your general fund impact for the changes is 91,000. So is what I'm hearing from council, you want me to reduce contingency by that amount and propose this as the budget with those changes made?
Are we meeting next Monday?
We don't need to, do we?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Are you still wanting to come back next week, or do you want to just propose these changes and then have that at the first hearing, November 1st?
Yeah, go to the hearing.
Now, let's do that, can we do it at 5, or could we're going to do it at 6?
That hearing has to be done during the regular meeting.
Yeah.
So that we need to let the people that were here tonight.
Yeah.
I would correspond.
Next time for them to be here is November 2nd.
What I would assume is I will follow up.
November 1 is the next day.
I will follow up with Dakota Counseling and ask for the information that council requested, and then you could take that as part of your consideration during that first hearing. Is that correct? Okay. So I had.
She'd give it to us tomorrow.
Put their balance sheet in.
Yes.
I know it's out on the.
Yep, I will include their balance sheet too.
To look at their cash.
Yep. And those did go up last year. Yep. Okay, so then I will make these changes and I will update both the narratives for the overview as well as the capital projects, update that and send it out to everybody, and we will have that considered for the hearing on the first meeting in November. I will reduce contingency to match what your general fund impact was here. Does that make sense? Okay.
So we won't meet again next week, well, first one in November.
Okay, now can we just?
You
move
just
into
declare
our
us back in session and proceed with item 19.
All right, we're back in session, and we're going to go into executive session. There will be nothing, we don't need a motion. There will be no action taken after.
You need the motion for executive session.
We need a motion for I'm sorry, yeah, okay. Okay, we have a motion to move into executive session. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. No action will be taken after executive session.